To figure out how to close the cycle on commercial CO2, imagine a carbon tax, sized to remove the CO2 emissions, and apply this tax to those CO2 sources. CO2 taxes will now fund commercial drawdown, which removes all of our ongoing emissions, plus our old pollution, and all excess CO2 from feedback effects. The CO2 will then go to supply other processes and activities harmlessly. For example, for each barrel of oil we pump out of the ground, a known amount of CO2 is produced. Require oil producers to pay for that much CO2 removal at the marketplace cost. The marketplace is currently between $100 and $600 per ton. For commercial beef production, the same strategy is applied, with each kilogram of beef being taxed for the known CO2 equivalent to methane produced. We will remove enough CO2 to make up for the methane created. Drawdown capacity will be built that will process the atmosphere, thus eliminating excess CO2. We achieve net zero as soon as we choose this strategy because the carbon tax will immediately devote enough resources to remove all emissions. Now we can see the closed cycle process, thus correcting the problem humanity created by operating the open cycle process. It doesn't really matter which method we use to remove CO2 from the atmosphere. There are a multitude of commercial drawdown options. Instead, trade CO2 in the marketplace as a commodity. The value will float freely, with that value pegged at the cost of CO2 drawdown. Once the government legislates the full marketplace carbon tax, commercial enterprises will happily draw down the waste CO2 in the cheapest way possible to maximize their profits. Oil producers and other emitters will pay full price, their emissions will be eliminated, and oil refineries and other drawdown industries will be paid for the CO2 they eliminate. The people working in oil and gas will be needed to create the capture technology at their refineries, and also the vast commercial CO2 drawdown market, which will be paid the removal tax to do so. Our energy sources help us maintain the light of civilization. Fossil fuels have literally lifted billions of humans out of poverty. We should thank the fine people from oil, gas, and coal for making all of our lives better. I'm sure they will be only too happy to turn their efforts to producing even more energy to scrub our atmosphere clean.